Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I've got an Xbox Series X here that has a busted HDMI port. Let's bring down the camera to take a look there. So you can just about see on the camera that the end of the inside blade there is a bit munged up. So fairly common issue with consoles. They get moved around. They tend to get plugged in by kids who are not careful with cables, and you jam a HDMI connector in there and it's going to break off the end. So we've got to take this to bits, replace the HDMI connector. I have a shiny new one here which I bought from eBay because I'm pro, and we're going to get into it. So let's roll the intro and do the thing. So this will be like the third or fourth time I've taken apart a Series X, and the second time I've done a HDMI port replacement on one. So I'm still kind of getting to grips with this one myself, but I'm feeling fairly confident about it. The last HDMI replacement that I did on a Series X was textbook, and I was really happy. But unfortunately I screwed up the recording, so the video was a bust. So yeah, I'm hoping this is going to be a really nice example of the job. I've got the iFixit guide on screen as a reference, so if it looks like I'm following those steps, it's because I am. They've got really good pictures there, man. So props to iFixit. Use their guides, they're really helpful. Anyway, we're starting out by taking off this green screw on the back here, so let's take that off. And then the next thing we need to do is peel back. There's another screw hiding behind this label. So I've got to see if I can get this guy to peel back without breaking now. So I'm just sliding a knife in under that label. There we go. Just far enough to expose that. And now we can pop this back panel off. So I shall take a spudger and we're just going to lift this guy up. There we go. Now, for reasons unknown to me, maybe it's to try and make sure that they're just really tough and can take a bit of rough and tumble. Modern consoles are still nightmarish to get into. I don't understand why they make them complicated, if I'm honest, but whatever. So the Xbox Series X is just like a metal brick that just slides into this plastic enclosure. It's kind of odd, and it means that unfortunately stuff like the HDMI port is the hardest place to get to. It requires a complete disassembly, which is just needlessly complicated, quite frankly, but hey, that's modern repair for you. So we need to start taking everything off now, and that starts by sliding out this cooling fan assembly. So I'm going to take out 3 screws along here. I think the middle one might be captive. I'm taking it out anyway. And I'll unplug the fan assembly. Is that locking? No, it's not. Didn't think so. And that should slide up. There we go. There's our Master Chief fan assembly. Because Microsoft are cool like that, I guess. I'll dust all of these parts when I'm putting them back in, but for the time being, we'll just get it all apart. So next we need to remove the base on the bottom. And in order to facilitate that, it twists and comes off. And there's a catch that, let me just see if I can get the camera shot on that. There's a catch here. So I'm just going to get in and just lever that up with my prying tool. And then while I'm levering that up, I'll twist the base and take it off. Here we go. There we go. Needed to go in with a screwdriver instead then, but we got it. So now we have a couple of screws on the bottom that we need to remove. So I'm just going to take all of those out. I don't think all of them need to come out right away, but they all need to come out at some point, so I shall do them all anyway. The iFixit guide tells you to only remove screws for each part as you need it. So for example, the iFixit guide is currently saying that we need to remove the optical drive first. So it's just indicating that we'll focus on those screws, but I'm just going to do it while I'm removing screws. Now we just pop this cover up. And we can disconnect the cables going into the back of the optical drive. And now we can just lift this guy out. Now we need to disconnect these ribbon cables here. And these are slightly awkward, so I'm just going to see if I can get the camera angle to the point where I can show you what's going on with the connectors. I'm going to lean in and I'm just going to use my prying tool just to lift up the top of that locking bar there. Oop, not quite. There we go. So that actually pops up and then the cable will come out. And now this one on the left, we need to just press down on the top of the tab. There we go. And that disconnects that. The little pull bit of plastic that was on the cable has just come off there, but we're not really bothered about that. So these are now free and I can peel them back. Right, and now with these cables pulled back, this center bit is now just going to lift out. Whoop. And there we go. Lots of dust bunnies in there. We'll clear all of those out afterwards. So now we've got this massive metal brick that's like an engine block. And we've got to start taking this whole thing apart. It's all sandwiched together now. It's horrifying. So we've got this rubber bouncy securing strap, which I think is to dampen vibrations. It's to stop this wobbling or rattling inside the case. So take that guy off. And then we're going to remove the power cable port. They are tough screws to crack, these, so you're going to want a very good T8, or you're going to want a T8 that's got a big handle on it. I use these wearer screwdrivers, which have very, very good tips on them. Handles not so good. However, because the tips are good, I trust them for me to actually just get two hands and wrench the screwdriver. A cheap screwdriver will just shred the head if you do that, so watch out. So that now lifts up, and now we've got to crack open this cable routing, which is fairly stubborn. There's probably a knack to this. Oop, there it goes. And now we can just take that out of the cable channel there. So that's going back to the power supply now. Right, next we need to remove this little corner cover here. So I'm going to take that guy off. Oh. And then we take off this wireless board here. And now we're able to undo the screws for this whole cover plate and lift that off. So let's go around. There are mixed screws on this guy, so keep track of where stuff is going. Oh, nope. Time to get the big boy out. All right. Shazam. Next we're going to disconnect this 10-pin power cable that goes down here. That's got a locking connector on the inside edge that I'm just pushing back with my prying tool. There we go. And I think we've got to break this guy out of its cable guide as well. That guy comes out. Yeah, open the cable guide. we remove the power supply screws. And there's our power supply. Right, now we need to remove the Wi-Fi board, which is this guy here. You can see the Wi-Fi antennas on the board sticking out there. And we can disconnect this interconnect cable, which I think that's a squeeze and release. Yes. And apparently we can now lift out the center chassis. So let's just take this upright. And this guy should just, oop, there we go, just like that. And we've just got to guide out that interconnect cable through that gap that it has. Oh, I should have done this top mount. Okay, let's go up this way instead. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to remove that while I'm here. So now we've exposed the main motherboard, which hilariously is comprised of just the system on a chip, basically. There's our HDMI port, but we still need to go further. We need to get this board off of the heatsink here. So let's have a look and see how much further in I need to go. I believe I've got to take off this metal cover here. So I'm just going to gently lever that guy up. There we go. Good grief. Ugh. Man, I felt like I was cruising up until that point. All right. So now we need to release the heatsink. So we've got 4 big bolts here, and we need to back these out progressively because this guy's under a lot of tension. So I'm just going to crack the. So I'm just going to crack them all. And now we're just going to go, like, I don't know, half a turn each. Right, and we've taken off some tension. I think we're close to the end of a thread, so I'm just going to commit to one of these. So I'm going to hold down with my thumb on this now. And just take that all the way out. And just gently release. And another one, hold down. And gently release. There we go. So you can see by how far that's just lifted up, you can see how much tension we had under there. It is a big piece of silicon on the other side of this. Alright, so now I'm going to stick my prying tool underneath the motherboard itself and just give that just a little bit of gentle encouragement. There we go, straight away. Now, look at that heckin' monster of a chip. It's the size of my thumb. Alright, so you'll notice we've got these green blobs. This is a thermal interface shmoo. It's mostly hard. It's like plasticine. I'm trying not to disturb it if I can. There are a couple of bits of it, like here and here, where I'm gently going to try and scrape it off so I can reapply it. It's probably preferable that I had some replacement stuff for it, but I don't. So we're just going to try and reuse where possible. The thermal paste I'll replace. However, the shmoo I will try and reuse. You can get away with reusing it. It's like a thermal pad. You know, they're completely fine to reuse. Right, I'm now going to come in with my shim and just try and scrape this off as a single piece. Feel successful? Yeah, mostly successful. Left a little bit behind, but I have successfully removed that so it can be reapplied. If you try and peel it, it'll probably come apart, so... And I'll get this one... Actually, I think I can just pop off the heat cap from that. Yeah. Whoop. There we go. And there's our SSD. And I'll take this out as well, just so we've got less sensitive stuff here. Whoops. There we go. There's our SSD. Far be it from Microsoft to make it easy to do. Don't know why they make it difficult. I don't see the need, but whatever. Users just don't do stuff themselves. You don't need to lock them out. Hell, make it hackable and more people will buy it. That's what I think. Anyway. Right, so now we need to actually get to work on this HDMI port. Okay, right, here comes the scary bit. We now need to desolder the old HDMI port. The last one of these I looked at was mercifully already so broken that it was not a big deal to remove. This one, going to be a bit tougher. So I'm starting out by applying some fresh solder to it. And what that's going to do is just wet the joints, and that should just make it easier for everything to flow. So when I come in with the hot air, hopefully I should have less work to do. So I'm just taking my soldering iron up to temperature, and I'm just going to wet these joins down here. And it's going to be like trying to solder to an anchor or an anvil, but it doesn't need to be neat. We just need some fresh solder on those joins. That's my objective. This is not inspiring confidence. I think I'll get those anchors from the other side. I'll just hit the actual data pins now. There we go. I'm not sure how much this helps, if I'm honest, but it makes me feel better. Whenever I do it, it seems to go better, so... Come on, little pine sol. It's times like this where I start getting DMs from my friends going, hey, have you thought of getting a better soldering iron? I'm like, I like pine sol okay. However, I will concede that when you're trying to solder onto a big, thick ground plane like this, it does start getting out of its depth. Right, I've applied solder. Now I'm just going to reflow those joins to try and get that solder to go deep. Boost mode activate. I'll put some flux on there as well. No idea if the flux will actually help. Sometimes it can help transfer the heat around a bit better. We'll find out. Or to just try and protect the pads a little bit. And I'm going no nozzle on my hot air. Alright. Maximum everything. Let's do it. Where are my tweezers? There's some. Okay, here goes nothing. Wish me luck, everyone. I started out with full air and full heat and no nozzle, but this didn't go very well. The spots I'd touched up were melting, but the heat wasn't getting down into the anchor holes, so I just couldn't get the connector to budge. I've been told more than a few times to heat from the other side of the board, but I always thought that heating the connector itself would be a better way forward. However, I think if I'd been heating from below, more heat would go directly into the anchor pins, which are the real thing that are holding me up. The data pins, those will melt in a heartbeat, so they're not really as big a problem as I'm imagining them to be. From past experience, I live in fear of ripping traces when removing these things. This is also coupled with the fact that my hot air station and soldering iron were both struggling on this super heavyweight motherboard. In the end, I used a combination of hot air and my soldering iron to get the anchors molten and then keep them that way while I pulled the connector out. The last one I did definitely didn't give me as much trouble, but also the outer metal shield was broken on it. So right away there was a lot less metal that I had to heat up the last time. Here we go. Here we go. Absolutely mortifying. Still, it's off and we didn't damage it. That's the most harrowing bit done now. So I'm going to reorient everything, and then the next stage is to tidy up the pad so we can put the new connector on. This microscope view is brought to you by Paul Daniels and his magical microscope lamps, which are super low profile, so they don't take up a lot of space around the bottom of your microscope, which means that you can get your hot air wand right up vertical, right up close to where you want to be. So very cool, and they've got super high quality LEDs in them as well, so you get a really nice natural looking white light with high CRI. So no more blue tinted microscope view for me. Massive thanks to Paul for sending one of them in. Hopefully he's going to make them generally available. Time will tell. Paul is Paul. Love you. Right. Let's get some flux onto these pads, and I'm going to try and wick them because I've been practicing my wicking recently and having a generally better time. What are you? I'm not sure. Does the new one have one of those spots on it? Does not. I'm going to leave that there because I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to quickly try the soldering iron on these holes. However, I strongly suspect I'm going to need my desoldering gun and hot air for these holes. Oh yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Desoldering gun and assistive hot air. Alright. Dual wield technique, go! So we've got the hot air just warming the sight up, and now I'm coming in with my desoldering gun, and we're just going to empty those holes out. Here we go. There's one. There's two. Oops, didn't get that one. I might need to top that up. Bad mount. Let's try that again. I might need to put some more solder in there to actually get a grip. Yeah, we do. Alright, it's fine. Hello there. Be with you in just a moment. Right, I think we're now in good enough shape that I can just take out the new HDMI port and just slot it in. The removal process and clearing of holes and stuff is very arduous, but if you get it right, it means that fitting the new port becomes a dream, for the most part anyway. So, move my bits out the way. I've got too much junk on my desk and I'm starting to pen myself into a corner. Tidy your desks, people. Alright, so this back left hole came mostly clean, so I think I should just be able to press fit in, but that back left corner might just need a bit of encouragement. Oh no, that's gone straight in. I didn't even need to hold the board up. Like I bought one. Alright, I'm going to put one of my clamps on this, just to hold that in place. And now I'm just going to flood fill one of these anchor holes just to hold the thing in place. And I shall now come in and just fill that hole up. And once we've got one of those anchors filled, we know the port isn't going to move around. And then we can start doing the delicate bits. I'm not going to commit to filling all the holes, so that way if I make a complete hash up of soldering the pins, it's not such a big deal to get the port out and get a new one. Right. Solder. Lingering on there, just let the solder flow into that hole and fill it up. Oops. Boost mode on the iron. You can see every now and then that the iron just hitches up. There we go. All right. Like I said, my trusty pine saw, it can do it, but this just demonstrates the limitations of these electronic irons. This is where you will hit the limits of them. They can do a lot, but they can't do everything. Right, make sure that's looking straight. Let's get under the microscope again, and we can do... Whoops. Oh, well, there you go. And that is called a dry joint. We put a load of solder in there, but it wasn't worth anything. Okay, that's fine. What I'm going to do in that case, I'm going to put some flux into that hole. Put you back in, and we'll just do a redo on that. Just going to come in with a bit of hot air again, just to make sure that's really gone down. I think I'm just about to melt my clamp doing that. However, it's real easy to get a dry joint. So that's provisionally on. It still needs its other anchors. And I wouldn't trust that to bear any weight, but it just means that it's not moving around while we now get the data pins in place. And le flux. And here we come in with the massive tip for these pins. And I'm just going to slather some solder on there, and we'll make good in a minute. I say, as none of the solder comes off of the tip. There we go. Right, now did I just get that in one go? I'll be amazed if I did. You know, I think that'll do. Let's clean the flux off. Also, again, look at how good that light is. Like, I'm not trying to shill this hard, but Paul Daniels' light is really good. My old light did not look that good. Fantastic. Oh yeah, that's mega. Right in one. Beautiful. Alright, let's get those anchors filled up. I've just stuck a clamp on again just to make sure that I'm holding that HDMI port flat. Haven't tried doing this before, so we'll just see how well this goes. I always find that sometimes I'll solder the anchors down to find that the port is like just half a degree out. And like it's passable, it's just not perfect. Right. I don't think this solder is wicking down the holes as I would like it to. I'm just going to get the solder on there. And then we'll remove the clamp and we'll go in with some hot air. Might work just to get it from both ends as well. But just, yeah, I live in fear of dry joints here. Where it looks like it's on, but the solder's just not wicked down those holes properly. And you actually find that it's just a completely bone dry joint between the solder and the actual anchor pin, where there's just no real contact there. Now for the hot air assisted reflow again. There we go. Right, and as much as it pains me to do this, it's a test that I have to do. I'm going to see if I can break it off. Oh. Yeah, I knew it. It moved. I'm glad I did the test. Look at that. Those front anchor points, they're still not done. God, what does it take, man? I think I am just at the limits of my tools. I'll get some more flux in there. The problem is, the reason why I'm not drowning every... Like, maybe some people have been screaming at their screens, flux, you need more flux. Like, I know, but the issue is, the temperatures that I'm having to run to get heat in will just burn the flux off instantaneously. So I'm not sure if it actually will help or not. However, let's try it again. I think I am just at the limits of my tools, to be honest. I did just get a nicer finish on those holes with the additional flux, mind you. That might have been my issue. Don't want to, but I have to. Yeah. I'm not going to test it to destruction because I'm sure if I tried I could break it off. You could say that about a lot of connectors, but that doesn't have, like, instantly that let go when I pressed on it before, whereas now that's holding on. More flux was needed. Those of you who are screaming at the screens, flux, you need flux. Yes, you were right. Here's a golf clap. I'm sorry. We're all learning together, except the ones who already knew. In which case, you were not learning. You already knew. Right, let's put this bad boy back together again. Reassembly is the reverse of the disassembly, with the only difference being that I'm going to change out that thermal paste. So we're just going to fast forward through all of this, and we'll just get it done because this video is long enough already. Man, I sure hope this works because I fully committed to doing everything before testing it, which is a really terrible idea and asking for trouble. Here we go, everyone. I'm going to get some plugs and hook this guy up. Okay. Here we go, everyone. Power button. It chimed. That looks pretty good to me. Not seeing any artifacting. Excellent. My hubris is rewarded by it working first time. However, also my tenacity to make sure that I did the job right on the board is rewarded. As much as I had a nightmare actually doing that, I did check and recheck my connections. So that's why it worked, because we made sure it was done. Didn't just blob it on there and hope for the best, which is a big temptation to do when you're there and you're all hot and bothered because you got all the rework gear on and you're flying by the seat of your pants. However, I breathe a sigh of relief. Right, thank you everyone for tuning in. When I started this video, I was hoping this was going to be a tutorial video. However, I don't feel comfortable with saying that I can do a tutorial video on consoles and stuff like that yet, because every time I do them, I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for all of my Patreon supporters as well, and also the Twitch subscribers and the YouTube channel members. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.